I'm Mayor Barbara McMorrow, and on behalf of Deputy Mayor Lester Preston, Committeeman Anthony Amiano, Committeeman Tom Cook, and Committeeman David Salkin, I welcome you to From the Mayor's Desk. We have a wonderful program for you today. With me is Bernice Garfield-Szita, and she is Artistic Director of the Center Players. The Center Players is a jewel of a theater located in downtown Freehold Borough on South Street, and it is just a wonderful piece of artistic history that is right within our community. And I'm so pleased that you were able to make it with us today, because I know you're in the middle of a very, very busy season. I know that one of your plays has just started, and we'll be talking about that. So Center Players has finished one, and that's how this program came about. They did Charlotte's Web, and they did it in conjunction with our Freehold Township Historical Association. And we presented it, and I say we because I was Charlotte, I was the spider. We presented it for the children of the township and the borough at the historic Oakley Farmstead, and it was really just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for everybody to get together, and especially for the children who participated in the play, as well as for those who came to see the play. And we might be doing it again for some of the schools.
Yes.
So while we were talking during rehearsals and before and after, Bernice was sharing with me all that Center Players do for the community, and she also was explaining to me how another organization, GIERS, and we'll talk about that in a little while, is involved with the theater as well. And this all really encompasses our community. And I asked her, knowing that she has a big conference coming up on November 12th, and the play has just opened, and it's probably the busiest time she could have, to please come and visit with us here so that we could share all this extraordinary information with our viewing audience. So a little bit about the Center Players from their program. I'll just do this by way of introduction, and then I'm going to ask Bernice to really give us the history of this. The Center Players host group tours of their facilities, which includes observing rehearsals. They have a children's theater program. Their play readings, book-in-hand evenings, encourage community members to experience live theater at no charge. They have a caring community ticket program. I hope we'll talk about that a little bit later. They encourage people with disabilities to be members of the audience, to participate as actors, and to be members of the production teams. And space is provided without charge to the Mourning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, the Mourning After Grief Counseling Program. And I'm hoping we can talk about that as well. It's an extraordinary venue, and it touches the heart of so many people in so many ways. And what I was fascinated with was how they blend counseling with the arts. It's really very unique, and we're very privileged to have you here with us. So Bernice, if you could give us the history of Center Players, which is a resident theater, and that perhaps we'll start with, because that's something different than most theaters in the area.
Well, Center Players actually was founded in 1996. And for a while we were developing a fund. I was with it, and my husband and several of the community members. We used to call ourselves the shopping bag players, because we would perform all over town at that time in a little cafe on the corner, different fellowship halls. Anywhere there was an open space, we would perform, and we gathered together a kind of war fund to create a permanent site in the town, the borough of Freehold. And after quite a bit of learning and growing, in 2001, we opened our little theater, and I call it little. It has 49 very comfortable seats.
It does. I've been to the
Very
place.
comfortable seats. And it is at 35 South Street. And we've been there since 2001. And just this year, we celebrated 15 years of being in the site, surviving. We opened in March 2001, and our next play, we opened with Crossing Delancey, and then our next play was to be Laughter on the 23rd Floor. But when 9/11 hit, our lead actor was recalled. He was a Navy captain, was recalled for active duty, and we had to scramble and find another lead actor to take his place. And there was a concern about, should we be doing a laughing show when the country is mourning this really upsetting event that, has changed us. And the consensus was, yes, that laughter was the best medicine, and that we should continue and people needed a break away from some of the heavy and distressful things of the Twin Towers coming down. So that was the beginning of our season, and we have had 16 seasons. We're now in our 16th season. We just opened Friday, this past Friday, October 21st. We just opened with The Sunshine Boys by Neil Simon, which is an absolutely wonderful play, an early play of Neil Simon about two vaudeville players, actors who were estranged in their senior years, and one of their nephews, one of the men's nephews, wants to get them back together for one last time on television. This takes place probably in the 70s. That's when the play opened, and it's just an amazing feat the way Neil Simon works in his plays, where you laugh but you learn as you laugh. And I will say that Center Players has chosen, and the committee that makes the choices, we look for things that are entertaining but also kind of sneak in a little education along the way. Socially relevant but fun. And it is just a delightful play, and it's going on till November 20th. Friday, Saturday, 8 o'clock, Sunday at 2 o'clock.
And if people want tickets, they would call?
They would call Center Players, and I could give you the number now.
Yes.
You would call 732-462-9093. Or you can go right online, those of us who are just so very spiffy about going online, and order your tickets through www.centerplayers.org. So,
and they can find future shows on there
yes,
as well?
it's our website, and we have future shows. We have an entire season of, we usually do 4 to 5 shows this year.
And all volunteers?
Everything in the theater is a volunteer position. We often say, we don't get paid, but we get paid with a lot of love.
Right.
And we all love what we do. So you can't always buy that.
and not only is there a lot of love, but there are also delicious desserts on intermission.
Yes.
So maybe you could explain that, which is very unique.
Yes. Every play that we do has a complimentary dessert offering at intermission. And what when we looked at how all the other community theaters were working, we decided we wanted to be a cut above. We rather than selling potato chips and M&Ms that we're all trying not to eat, we decided we were going to put out a nice dessert, and we would include it in the ticket price. So you didn't have to decide, should I buy the coffee? Should I have an extra M&M? It all comes together. Very often we have people who bake for us, who love to bake, and they'll bring their little specialties. We try to find things that are in complement to the plays that we do, believe it or not.
That's interesting.
As a part of the experience, our lobby, which is really enormous, probably 10 by 10, is filled with either photos or memorabilia or all kinds of things relating to the era that the actual play took place. So the minute you walk into the theater, you're in what we call an immersion experience of being in that time, leaving your life, your time outside the door. I remember when I direct at the theater as well. I did, let me see, the play about the South trying to think of the name, Steel Magnolias. It was a while ago. And we had someone on our staff, one of the volunteers, who looked up on the internet, looked up to find out what kind of cookies did they eat in the South.
Really?
And she baked pecan tassies that were mentioned in the play and other kinds of desserts that no one in the North had even heard of. And it just gives us a little bit of fun because we encourage creativity wherever we can.
And you know what else I like about intermission is that everybody gets up and goes out to have coffee and pastries, whatever is on the dessert table for that evening. And it's a wonderful sense of community because you see friends you haven't seen in a while, you make new friends.
Right.
It really is a theater where there are no strangers.
No.
And by the end of the evening, many people are already planning the next play, and they're going to come back, and maybe we'll go for dinner first, and then we'll come to the theater. And it really is such a community theater with the heart of the community at its center, and I think that's what's making it so special. And if you are involved with any production, or you do go to see a rehearsal, you'll see Bernice weaving her magic spell over everyone, because you're thinking, how is this all going to come together? And it does. It really does. She has such a wonderful way of bringing the groups together. I know that from our Charlotte Webb experience.
Yes.
It was just a delightful one, and now that I know all the work that goes into it, I am even more appreciative of the productions that you put on, because it all looks, when you go there, as with any theatrical work, when you go in and you sit there and you're watching it, it just all looks so easy, and it's not. But you do a great job, as the entire staff does.
Yes,
really,
we
truly,
have wonderful
talented
director.
people.
Many directors, each one of our productions is a different director who comes with an idea to the artistic committee, which I chair, and says, I'd like to do this show for you. And then the process begins. We read the show, we read the play if we're not familiar with it. We even do a dramatic reading of the play to see whether it would fit the audience and the community that we're in. Because there are many wonderful dramatic pieces, but sometimes the subject, the language, and other factors become too difficult for us to do on stage. We do musicals and dramas and comedies and mysteries. We try to touch all the different areas, but because our stage is 14 by 18, I had a bigger bedroom. 14 by 18. We can't really have enormous casts of 40 people, as many organizations can do in a high school or a large theater. So we have to limit the productions to casts that are reasonable on the stage. The most people we've had on our stage was when we did 12 Angry Men. And we had 2 extras, so it was really 14 Angry Men. It was challenging because they had to have a long conference table that they all sat at while they were working on the decision for the law case. And we had to create, we make everything because we have to custom build it for our stage. So it became a shortened triangle, and a lot of fun though. It's one thing, we call ourselves the shoestring players privately because we don't have big budgets to do this, but somehow we always feel the angels are with us. We find what we need is donated. We have a wonderful partner in the community I wanted to mention, and that's Millhurst Mills.
I didn't know that.
Mills
Yes.
has been with us since day one, and they have contributed the lumber, the paint, the equipment, the things that we need at no cost because they enjoy theater and they love our theater.
They believe in you.
They do. It's just an amazing relationship, and Nardi Hochberg, who's at the head of it, was one of our honorees last year for his contributions to the Playhouse. And he had his family there. And they said, wow, we didn't know our father liked theater. But he does, and he's a wonderful guy, and there are many, many other connections that we've made over the years that have become part of the family.
Well, that brings me up to what I read in the program, where if people want to contribute, there's the one that the Caring Community Ticket Program. Maybe you could speak about that.
Well, you know, Freehold is an interesting place, both the township and the borough. It has a very wide sociological base, from some of the very poorest people to very, very wealthy people, and the surrounding communities as well. So we wanted people to be able to come to the theater who may not have been able to afford the price of a ticket, which is very inexpensive in my opinion.
It is. It's very inexpensive.
At this point, but even so, for a family and whatever. So we put together something called the Caring Community Ticket Fund. And people contribute money and corporations contribute money. One of our longest corporations is the New Jersey Gas Company. They have been sending Caring Community Ticket funding since we've opened. And, you know, these are just very special relationships. So if someone in the community cannot afford a ticket, we have the means to invite them and their family to come and enjoy an evening of theater. The work that Bob and I do that we'll talk about later also has
Bob
to do...
is your husband.
Yes, Bob is my husband. And we work together all day, all night.
And you're still married.
And we're still talking, and that's very good. So the Caring Community Tickets allow us to invite people who've gone through serious illness, whose family needs a respite, something to laugh about, you know, in difficult times, after losses. It's just a wonderful option to be able to invite people and know that the theater can offer this and still function. You know, we're a little business and we have a high overhead. People wouldn't believe how much it costs to just keep the doors open and do the work. But, you know, we've learned a few tricks along the way.
So if people who are watching the show now would like to donate, how would they do that?
Well, they can directly donate to the theater by sending a check to the address, which is 35 South Street.
Made out to Center Players?
Made out to Center Players, and they could note for the Caring Community Fund, because that's a designated fund that we use for that purpose only. So that we don't use it up on fabulous costumes and then we can't invite anybody.
Right.
And Bob just gave me a little signal that I should mention our florist in town. You know?
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, please do.
We have had this relationship with, especially for you florists in town, who have sent us a bouquet of flowers for every single performance that we've ever done at Center Playhouse. And it's like a love missile comes through the door. And they try to do the flowers in a way that matches the play that we're doing. So when we do a mystery, they might create something that's very
mysterious,
eerie and scary, or romantic. They'll, you know, use the pastels and special flowers. Holiday time, they do a holiday bouquet. But the main thing is that they never forget. And one of our volunteers goes each weekend to pick up the bouquet from Especially For You florists, and they are our florist.
Another guardian angel.
Another angel.
Yes, absolutely.
And we've had quite a few along the way. People joining in to the spirit of the group, because it's actually very spiritual. I hate to use that word, but you know, when people get together for a project that's a little bit selfless in that you're giving to the community and people get joy. It feels amazingly good. In fact, there have been research that shows that people who volunteer for things they really love, they live longer.
That would make sense.
Because
You
they're
feel
having a good
about it.
time, right? And their endorphins are really activated, and they're happy. So,
and that makes a great deal of sense, and it's a good segue into this other part of the community service that you have, which is very interesting. The organization is called GIERS, but it's GIERS, Grief Information, Education, and Recovery Services. And I'd like, Bernice, if you would explain how GIERS and Center Playhouse have come together. I think you're going to find this just a fascinating way of using the arts to help people heal.
Yes, well, my husband Bob Zita, and I have been doing counseling for people with illness and loss for well over 35 years. And one of the things that we do is a bereavement program. We've been doing it forever, it feels. And when Center Players opened, we thought, wow, this is a nice big room. We were always looking for spaces to do things for the theater and for GIERS. And so we were given permission to hold our bereavement group the first Friday of each month. And people from the community can come. There's no charge.
And when you say community?
Any
community?
Any place.
Okay, it doesn't have to be the township.
No.
Or the borough, it doesn't have to be Freehold. It can be any place.
There's no limitation. We do say it's for adults, 18 and up, because it's, I think young people might find it a little not really matching. We do other programs for children, but it's an adult group, and it's a multi-grief group, meaning that it's not just for people who've lost spouses or people who've lost children, because we've come to know that grief is a universal experience, and it really isn't as important who you lost, but that you are recovering from the loss of a loved one that was very important to you. So we have people come who have lost a parent, a brother, a friend,
a pet.